Today is a great day to get better, faster, and stronger so that you can go change the world. I'm smiling because just before today's show, I was listening to, I don't know if you've heard the song Lovely Day by Bill Withers. Boom. There it is right there. So anyway, welcome to the show. My name is Ed Rush, 5-time #1 best-selling author, your host for the most positive place on the planet for insanely implementable ideas. This is how to get paid what you're worth. And this is Ed. All right, hey team, welcome to the show. Welcome to the most positive place on the planet for insanely implementable ideas. Today, I think if I have the count correct, today is episode 40 of EdTalks Live. And there are people who are checking in right now in chat who have been with us on every single episode, all the way back in the beginning. Now, in the beginning, this show, my original title for the show was the Coronavirus Pajama Jam. And when something just flew right in front of my face. So the original name was the Coronavirus Pajama Jam. I had my designer creating some logos for this. And she said, I need a picture of you in your pajamas. I said, not going to do that. And then we called it the Coronavirus Bunker Bash. Then I wanted to take the word coronavirus out of it. So we just called it the Bunker Bash. But we are here at EdTalks Live, airing every day, Monday through Friday, 10 o'clock Pacific, 1 o'clock Eastern. And today we're talking about, actually, it says underneath part 3, but this is actually part 4 and the final part of a series on how to get paid what you're worth. I'm going to do a short review in just a second. But before I do that, jump in on the right-hand side if you're on YouTube into chat and say hello. And on the bottom section, if you are on Facebook or on Twitter, jump in, tell me who you are, where you're from, and what you do. I want to say hello to some of our friends in chat. And then I'm going to jump in, give a quick review over where we're going. And I promise this is the final part for you this week. I've got a crazy week set up for you. And I've got some guests coming in that are going to blow you away. All right, so this morning, 9:09 this morning, Barry Gamar. Good morning. The professor and purveyor of positive. Bam. Dennis Bauer with the aviation analogy. By the way, jump into Amazon. Dennis, put the link to your book in the chat. Will you jump into Amazon and get Dennis's book? I think it's like 99 cents on Kindle. Give him a little boost this morning as well. Good morning, Wendell Buggs. Aubrey Hudson, welcome to the show. Jim Butts, my man, welcome back. Robert, as usual. Delisa, good to see you as well. Hello, Terry. He's germ-proofing. Yes. Everybody's going back to business, man. I love it. Aaron Miller. Dude, I was just on the phone talking to my team member, Delisa, talking about coming to Texas, baby. We're talking about coming to Texas. The shirt, by the way, says, people hate when sentences do not end the way they potato. Just thought it was funny. Kristen Sabayan, and I'm positive Kristen isn't on the show because she sleeps until about noon every day. But maybe she's watching on video. She sent me a link for like 12 different t-shirts to buy when I started the show. What's up, John? Matt Head, what's going on, buddy? Good to see you as well. All right, so we are back in a series called How to Get Paid What You're Worth. This is actually it says part 3, but pricing strategies had its own title, so that was sitting all by itself. All right, so I'm going to jump in and hello, Richard. Good to see you as well. Welcome to the show. All right, I'm going to jump over to the board. Most of what I'm going to be teaching today is going to be over here on the whiteboard. So let me just jump over here and just say you are in the right place at the right time. In part 1 of How to Get Paid What You're Worth, I talked about mindset, the way that you think about yourself. We did an entire show on that. Go back and watch it if you haven't seen it. Part 2 was about skill set. We're actually going to be continuing this discussion. Part 3 is action set, which I discussed in part 2 about asking for the sale. That is the action set part of this. Now, in the skill section, you'll probably remember that there are 3 main parts to the skills. Number 1 was speaking in benefits. Number 2 was asking for the sale. And number 3 was countering objections. Now, I said on the pricing show that I would cover price objections, but we got into the teaching, and as usual, we got a little bit long into the teaching. And so today, I'm going to be going deeper into countering objections and exactly what that is. And I'm going to explain that in just a second. Before I do that, just for those of you who may have just joined us, just to give you a big picture overview. Sorry, my board's running away on me. Just to give you a big picture overview, we've been discussing how to get paid what you're worth in the context of being a coach, a consultant, or an advisor. Now, here's why this is so important. People come up to me all the time. So we do these events, and we're looking at doing one in June, by the way. June. I got to tell you, I am so excited to get out of the house and to get on an airplane and to go someplace, okay? So it's looking good right now. For those of you who are registered for Ultimate Speaker, we've got some great options coming up for you that for those of you who want to stay at home, we got an option for you to stay at home. For those of you who want to do it, come join us live. We have an option for you to do it live as well, okay? So I know a lot of folks want to come and do a live event, okay? So, and I do as well, so great news. And by the way, if you are registered for Ultimate Speaker, we're gonna be getting together tomorrow at the latest this Thursday on Zoom. So I'll send you a little bit more information about that as we go. All right, so people come up to me at events, and the question that I get is almost always the same, and it sounds like this. Ed, what's the fastest way for me to make $10,000 right now? It's almost always the same number, by the way. People go, or they say, hey, what's the fastest way to make money right now? And I'll go, how much are you talking about? And they go, $10,000. Okay, so for some reason, that seems to be the number. So people go, hey, fastest way for me to make $10,000 right now, what's that? And I say every single time, I say, go get a deal. Okay, now, at that point, people go, well, what am I supposed to give in return to that? I said, look, it doesn't matter to me as long as whoever it is that you're talking to wants the thing that you're going to be delivering them, right? So you may be helping people with health or relationships or business or dieting or addictions or whatever it is, okay? Whatever it is that you are competent at giving advice on. Now, the truth is I've taught students how to do deals, and they said, well, what am I supposed to deliver? I said, tell the business owner you're going to give them the thing they want. They said, what is the thing they want? I go, ask them the thing they want, okay? So I have my students ask this question. So grab a pen and write this down. And the question goes like this. I say, if you could, you're asking this to a business owner. You say, if you could wave a magic wand and make 3 problems go away in your business, what would they be? Okay, so this is what I call a magic wand question. If you could wave a magic wand and make 3 problems go away in your business, what would they be? Okay, and when I ask that question, typically the business owner will come right out. Like if I asked you that question, it would be like, how to get more leads on my email list. That's what I would say. How to get more customers into my online programs. How to get more people into my advisory business. That would be the challenges that I would say. And then you help them solve those challenges. Now you might say, I don't know how to solve those challenges. And I would argue that if I gave you a check for $10,000, you would go figure out how to solve those challenges, okay? So we're in a discussion right now about how to get to the point at which someone's going to pay you. Now, there are more steps to this than the ones that I outlined, okay? I'm gonna briefly walk through those 5 steps, and then I'm gonna anchor in on price objections like I said that we were going to do. And before I do that, I just wanna jump in and say hello to some of you in chat. Hello, Catherine, good to see you as well. Aaron, yeah, no joke, dude, it's gonna be awesome. Well, just hanging out on the French porch. I love it. Go get a deal, says David. Oh, Barry, you are the man. Check it out. Hold on. Boom. How about that? How's the mic working now? Thank you. Thank you for that, by the way. I did that 20 episodes ago, and it was one of the best episodes, and I was bummed out because my audio was picking up, and it should sound great right now. So thank you for that. Let me make sure I'm on the correct microphone. It's funny, man. I got a checklist too. Dennis, I have a checklist, just like I used to have in the airplane. So thanks, dude. I owe you one on that one. All right. So there are actually 5 steps to getting this done. Now grab a pen and write these down. I haven't taught these before. And then we're going to anchor in on the price objections. Okay. So it's actually 5 Ps. And for some of you who are familiar with our old school program called Author Expert Marketing Machines, I taught 5 Ps. Inside of Consultant Profit, 5 Ps. Inside of the Strategic Advisor Program, which some of you have access to, there's 5 Ps, okay? And I'm gonna walk through these really quickly.
The first one is position. I have not discussed this yet. I'm planning on doing a show on positioning sometime soon as this Wednesday. Okay, so positioning is nothing more than being the guru at the top of the hill. Boom. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate that. The second one is price. We talked about price last week, about the 6 different pricing models and how to price yourself. Okay. The third one is present. Now, I did speak about this because remember I said one of the most important cases for you to speak in benefits, then pitch, okay? And I'll get to this in a second, and then finally produce. So you as a coach, consultant, or advisor, anytime you're working with someone, it's one of these spots, it's this spot, okay? Somebody comes to you because they think you're an expert on this topic, or you're an authority, or you can help them. You have a pricing model, okay, as to how you typically price yourself. You discuss benefits, you talk in benefits and help people do that. And then you offer your services. This is both asking for the sale and countering objections. We're going to talk about countering objections today. And then finally, you produce. You deliver a great product, you get a great testimonial, and you get referrals, okay? And I don't have time to teach that this process is broken down fully inside of a course on my website at edrush.com/products. It's called The Strategic Advisor. I'm going to spend the time today talking about how to counter objections, but I just want to show you where we are in the mix of it. And again, this week, maybe next week, depending on the guests that are coming in this week, I'm going to talk a little bit about positioning and how you can become perceived as an expert or an authority on your topic, in your market, or in your niche. Now, let's go over to price objections, let's go over to countering objections. But before I do that, I'm going to jump into chat for a second and say hello. And then I'm going to give you a quick announcement as to who's coming tomorrow. And then we're going to get into the pricing discussion. So boom, over here to chat. Thanks, by the way, on the audio. I know that I'm like sliding out of the camera here. I just want to tell you tomorrow. So I have a friend of mine who's coming in. His name is Todd Durkin. Some of you are familiar with Todd. Todd is one of the leading trainers in the world. So he has hundreds of NFL players who come to him for training. Hundreds of Major League Baseball players who come to him for training. Just so happens Todd and I went to the same school together, college together. We've known each other at this point now for 25 years. Really, really good guy, great business owner, and he's releasing a book right now. I mean, it's just being released called Get Your Mind Right. So tomorrow I'm going to do an interview with Todd. You're absolutely not going to want to miss that. He's a total stud and very, very smart business owner. Okay, so if you just joined us, by the way, my name is Ed Rush. This is how to get paid what you're worth. And today we're talking about how to, when you make an offer, how to have that discussion with somebody afterwards when you make your price, okay? And I'm going to deliver this, and then I'll have time today for questions, okay? So step number 1, you all know, right? So you're going to ask for the sale. And again, when I discuss this in the context of this conversation, usually it's coach, consultant, advisor. So it's you getting paid for your time, your expertise, or your services. Asking for the sale, most of you know because we did this last week, is nothing more than saying, so are you ready to get started working together? And then you listen to the answer to the question. I told you there's only 1 of 3 answers. Either the person can say yes, either the person can say no, which they almost never say, or they could say something other than yes and no. And something other than yes and no in the sales terminology is called an objection. Now, I don't love this terminology. I've already told you that. The reason I don't love it is because it sounds like some courtroom thing where people are like, I object. And nobody ever says I object. Usually what they do is simply ask a question, or they make some sort of a statement that delays them from moving on, okay? And the questions could sound something like this. And I'm going to discuss the counters, or how to overcome all of the questions that I'm about to give you, okay? So someone might say, well, Ed, I just need to think about it. Or Ed, I just need to ask my spouse or my partner or my business partner. By the way, I'm going to give you something called owning the ground, an owning the ground technique for how to overcome this way early on in the discussion. Or somebody might say the price is too expensive. Or someone might say, how do I know it will work? Okay. Or someone might say, hey, I've tried this before and it didn't work. How do we know it's going to work this time? These questions that people ask, those are nothing more than questions. Now, there's two things to know about the questions that people are asking. Number one, if they're asking these questions, that means they're at least engaged in the process of the sale, and that's good news, okay? So the first thing is smile, because look, at least they're here in the conversation where you talked about the price, you talked about what they were gonna get, you talked about the deal that was potentially coming through for you, so this is all good news. The second thing that I will tell you is if you're talking about the price, you're in really good news. Because when you're talking about the price, what that means is that they're this close to getting to the sale. People aren't going to be negotiating with you on price if they're not ready to go, okay? So the first thing I'll show you when it comes to countering objections or discussing the questions that someone has when it comes to the sale is any of these questions right here, any of these questions that I can get rid of early on in the sales process, I'm going to get rid of, okay? And this is a little technique called owning the ground. Those of you who are inside of my persuasion course called The Secret Weapon, you're familiar with the concept of owning the ground. So let's take this objection for a moment, okay? The person gets to the end of the discussion. You've already talked about the price. You talked about the guarantee. You talked about the deal. We get all the way to the end of this, and they go, oh, you know, I'm going to go home and sleep on it. I just need to talk to my spouse a little bit about this. Okay, so they say, I need to go back and talk to my spouse, my husband, my wife, my business partner, whatever, my partner, whatever it is. Okay, so there is a way to get rid of this early on in the process. I'm going to give you the scripting for this. Again, today all we're doing is discussing how to overcome these questions and objections. And I'm going to give you the scripting for this, but again, it happens way before in the sales process. In fact, it's one of the first things that happens inside of the sales process. So when I'm sitting down with a prospect, we're getting ready to have a discussion. Here's a question that you can ask right in the very, very beginning. And I'm going to give you the scripting. I'm going to do it twice. And then you can always go back and listen to the recording if you want to be able to catch this, okay? So it goes like this. Now, as we get started in this discussion, the first question I have is there anyone in your business or in your life who you need to discuss a deal with or whose permission you need before moving forward on an agreement that we might put together, okay? So again, I'm sitting down with my prospect, and the first question, or one of the first questions is, okay, so the first question is, as we get going here, is there anyone that you need to discuss a deal with or anyone's permission you need to get before moving forward on the kind of deal that we're going to be putting together? Okay, so there's two parts of that. Is there anyone you need to ask, or is there anyone's permission you need before moving forward? Now, again, you're having this conversation all the way before. There's two roads this can go, right? So for example, someone might say, well, yeah, in fact, my husband, we always talk about all of the deals together. And then at that point, I'll just simply say, okay, great. How about we do this? Let's just get any of your questions answered. And then let's schedule a time tomorrow for all three of us to be together on the phone. That way we can go through this whole thing together and make a good decision together. See, what I want to do is include the alternate decision maker in my conversation. Now, take it to the other side. You've all been to car dealerships before. A car dealership, what they do is they work the opposite of this. So for example, in a car dealership situation, you go look at the cars on the lot, you're talking to some guy who's wearing, the black jacket, the black jeans, he's got the styrofoam cup of coffee, it's all the same, okay? And he's out there and he's talking about the features of this new car. Then he's like, do you want to take it for a test drive? You go for a test drive, you come back. He goes, come on inside, can I get you something to drink? Can I get you a cup of coffee, a bottle of water? You sit down at the table and then you start to talk about price, right? And you're like, oh, this is me negotiating. And then all of a sudden, the manager pops by. And the manager says, hey guys, nice to meet you. Really glad you're in Jose's hands. You guys have a conversation and hopefully everything works out. We'd love to have you as a customer. The manager leaves, but you know what? The manager's not out of your life yet. Because what happens is the guy who's sitting there working the deal with you, he's like, all right, so we're gonna work this price. Let me see if I can do this. And you know what? Guys, I really want to get you into this car. So let me just see what I can do. Let me see what I can do with my manager. Now, if I were to get you here, he's going to ask you some questions. And then he goes back out of the room for like 10 minutes and he comes back and it's like, guys, I'm sorry. just talked to my manager. We're not able to do this, and I really wanted to. Now, all of a sudden, what they're doing with you is they're playing the manager against you, and now it seems like this guy, the salesperson, is on your side. This is all part of the setup, right? What they do is they introduce a third party into the situation. Well, if you're in the game of getting someone to say yes to you, or the sales game, what you want to avoid is your prospect having the third party inserted into the discussion, because you could get into this whole thing and you could have somebody ready to go and ready to sign up with you, and then they go talk to their spouse, and their spouse is like, who is this Ed Rush guy? I don't know if you should, it's like all of a sudden the deal goes flying out the window because there's somebody who wasn't in the discussion, okay? And I'm going to tell you, I got the clue on this one 9 years ago. 9 years ago, we were looking to put in some carpet into one of our rooms of our house. And I called the carpet people and I was like, hey, we want to get somebody out here to give us an estimate on some carpet. And they said on the phone, they said, we can come tomorrow at 9, but they said on the phone, they said, can you please confirm that all decision makers will be there tomorrow at 9? I thought, that's something I got to remember. Make sure that all decision makers are there at 9. Okay, so the first question would be, is there somebody who you discuss this with, or is there someone's permission? There's a very important way that's phrased. Permission you need to ask before moving forward on a deal. The reason you say, is there someone's permission, is what happens is 50% gender, speaking of genders, roughly 50% of the women that you'll be speaking to will go, nope, it's just me, let's go. Okay, even if there is somebody else that they may be connected to, usually that's the decision. About 95% of the guys, though, when you say, is there anyone whose permission you need to ask, even if someone has to ask permission, 95% of the guys will be like, I don't need to ask anybody's permission, okay? It's just like a pride thing. I don't know. You'll hear them exactly. They'll do the same body language I just gave you. They'll go, I don't need to ask anybody's permission. Okay? Now, here's the key to this. When you get this question answered up here, okay? When somebody says, I don't need anybody's permission, remember I said there's two ways. Number one, they have a decision maker. You need to bring them in that case. Or number two, they don't, in which case later on, remember, if they say, I don't need to ask anyone's permission, then later on they can't say, okay, now I need to go home and ask my spouse, because they already told you that they don't need to ask permission. Okay? So this is just one of the price objections. And again, I'm going to do this, and then in a moment, I'm going to break down the 4 or 5 different ways to counter price. All right, let me jump in the chat and make sure I didn't miss anything. Hey, what's up? Oh, Todd. That's good to go, man. Hey, what's up, Steven? Good to see you, buddy. Chris Casamas is coming in this week, by the way. Diana? Hey, good job. Congratulations. What's up, Nobby? 3 o'clock in the morning there. All right, so if you just joined us, by the way, I don't know if you noticed this, but I changed the whole studio around. So now I got to lean over here. I'm going to get it set up with a monitor so I don't have to lean over to check this. But for right now, this is the way we're rolling. This is tomorrow's show. This is today. So this is how to get paid what you're worth. My name is Ed Rush, former F-18 fighter pilot. We're in the middle of a series actually on how to get paid what you're worth. Part 1 and Part 2 were awesome. Part 3 is looking that way too. We also did a section inside of that on pricing. Okay, and so today I am discussing how to overcome the objection. The objections are what come at the end of the discussion, or the part where somebody is ready to buy from you, okay? So now let's take this one right here. So I'm gonna do this one quickly because I did this scripting of this last week. So somebody says to me, all right, Ed, sounds good. I just need to go home and sleep on it, or I just need to think about it, okay? Now, sometimes when people say, I need to think about it, it's just because they need to think about it. So for example, in my case, I typically don't make buying decisions personally. I don't make big ticket buying decisions right on the spot all that often. Sometimes I do, if it's just something I know and I've been thinking about for a while, okay? But other times, sometimes, like to give it a night, maybe to think about it, all right? So sometimes if somebody needs to think about it, they need to think about it. Sometimes, however, when they say they need to think about it, it's not because they need to think about it. It's because they need to figure out where they're going to get the money. Okay. So let's say your program is $10,000 and that person has maybe I don't know, $4,500 limit on their credit card. And they're going to pay you $10K. And they're like, I mean, they're in, but then you go, okay, are you ready to get started? And they don't want to tell you, man, Ed, I don't want to, like, they don't want to start the relationship off by being like, yeah, dude, I don't really have any money on my credit card, okay? They don't want to start that way. And because they don't want to start that way, they're not going to say it to you, okay? And so a lot of times when people say, I need to think about it, it's because there's one or two questions that are remaining, okay? And so the way that I do this, if somebody says I need to think about it, I just say, great. So countering objections, I should just do this now. The first step, okay, in countering objections is just to acknowledge that the person said something back to you, okay? So I don't ever go, nah, anything like that. I just say, look, I go, good, that's really good. Or I go, great. Like I acknowledge what they just said. Hey, this is good. We're having a conversation. So they say, Ed, I think I just need to go home and think about it. I go, good. That's really good. Listen, I want to give you the freedom to be able to make a great decision because when we work together, I want you to be all in because I know that I'm all in. But let me ask you a question, Steve, as we do this today. Sometimes when people tell me I need to think about it, that means you need to think about it. And other times what that means is maybe there's one or two questions remaining in your mind that when we answer those one or two questions, then we'll be ready to move forward together. So let me just ask you, is there anything else floating around? Like, for example, is it the price? Okay, did you catch how I did that? So I'll go, hey, is there anything else floating around? For example, is it the price? And about half of the people will go, no, that's not the price. Now I know the price is good. It's just, yeah, Ed, I've tried stuff like this before and it didn't work. Okay, so there's another question, right? It's not the price one. It's another question that someone asked. So if somebody says, I've tried this and it didn't work, now we're going to discuss this. So again, I acknowledge the question. I just go, great. Listen, great. Thank you for bringing that up. That's really important for me to hear that you said that. Listen, a lot of the people that I've worked with, like for example, I used to do internet services. So this is how I would do internet services. A lot of the people that I have worked with have had bad experiences before. Watch my right hand. Did you catch that? You see where that's going? Bad experiences. So I'm taking all the bad experiences. They're over there, right? So I go, a lot of the people that I've worked with have had bad experiences before, and I get that. In fact, a lot of our clients now that are having a great experience had a bad experience with someone before. It's been my experience that with somebody where there's a bad experience, it's almost always because they didn't keep their promises to you. Is that true with the person that you were working with before? Well, yeah, they said they were going to do this, but then they didn't. But then we tried to get them to do this, but then they never responded. Listen, Steve, I'm glad you brought that up. That's very important for me because you need to know that that's not who we are. When I look you in the eye and tell you this is what we're going to do, then this is what we're going to do. We have a really simple rule. It's under promise and over deliver. And you're going to experience that. But you know what? If that doesn't happen for some reason, we have paperwork together. What that means is that number one, I will do everything to make it right. And number two, we always have a guarantee built into this program, and that's why, right? So I'm going to discuss that particular objection right there in that fashion. Now, let's say I go here, and I'm going to do this. This is the longer part, or sorry, this is basically the rest of today is talking about price objections. Let's say I get, by the way, so I'm back with this question. Let me jump into chat real quick and make sure I didn't miss anything. Y'all just saying hello to each other. I love it. Hey, what's up, Marty? No, I said hello to my Ricky, Marquetta Breslin, who you've seen on the show twice. She and her husband do a show an hour before mine, so I was just jumping on there to say hello. And now Marty's going to say hello to me. Love it. All right, welcome back. So we're talking today. So if you just joined us, by the way, which I just saw about 5 of you just jumped on, we're in the part 3 of a section on how to get paid what you're worth. By the way, if you did just join us, the good news is the replays, about an hour after each of these shows, the replay comes up on YouTube, and we usually have a timestamp in the description so you can go back and listen to all that stuff. Looking, by the way, at the time, we should have about 10 minutes left at the end of today's show for questions. I'm going to discuss price objections now. Okay, so my prospect says, I need to think about it. I say, Steve, listen, I know, so I say good, or I go great. Listen, Steve, great. Listen, great. Sometimes, Steve, when people tell me they need to think about it, there's maybe 1 or 2 things remaining, that if we just covered those things, we'd get moving together on the deal. So What other questions do you have? Is it the price? Okay, remember I said about 50% of the time, people will say, no, it's not the price. It's just that, then I know the price is good and that we probably have a deal. I just need to answer some other questions. And about 50% of the time, they're going to say the price is the issue, okay? So let's discuss price. Because when you talk about price, in fact, let me just move this all, that's fine. Hey, I'll move up the board. I'm gonna need more room. When you talk about the price with your potential prospect, you are at the end of the discussion. The great news here is when you are talking about the price, once you're done with this, you're done with the discussion and you're moving forward on the deal, okay? So when you get to this, the person goes, yeah, yep, it's the price. Let's assume for today's argument or for today's discussion, that the price of whatever you're offering is $10,000. Let's just assume that this is the number, okay? So there are several things you can do when the person comes back to you and says it's the price, okay? So option number one, you can simply justify your price and send it right back to them, okay? Option number two, you can drop your price, okay? If you do this, you're going to use a technique that I'm about to teach you called the yes before the yes, okay? Now, number three, you can create what's called an A or B option. I'm going to explain what this is in just a second, but let's just go through these first three steps pretty quickly, okay? So the first step is to justify your price. Now, before I hit this one, let me just walk back for a second and just say that my assumption is that there are two people in the room, or there's two entities in the room. There's you and the person that you're talking to, or the group of people that you're talking to. So it's you and the person and their spouse. It's you and the person and their business partner. It's you and the person and the friend of theirs that came that day to talk to you about the business. It's two people, not three, okay? Because most business owners that I know, when they're talking about doing deals with somebody, they bring in three people. That person, the three people is this. It's you, the person you're talking to, and the alter ego version of yourself that talks you down on price. Here's the way this works. Somebody will go like this. So Ed, I put together a really great deal for you and it's $10,000. And then this person starts talking. No, actually it's 9. No, actually it's 8. No, actually it's 7. Listen, I've been on the phone with business people before who are quoting fees to me. And in the first 30 seconds after quoting their fee, they had talked themselves down 3 times and I hadn't said a word. Ed, it's going to be $497. I know that's a lot. So we'll bump it down for you to $447. And when you do it today, we'll make it $397. Like I'm just gonna listen. Keep talking, man. The more you talk, the lower your price goes. Okay. So let's just assume, for the sake of argument, that you as a business owner, if you say it's 10K, when you say 10K, you're going to do one of the most important things any business owner will ever do, which is to shut your mouth. Okay. Don't say anything else. My first deal that I told way back in part 1, my first deal went like this. Hey, Ed, this is 10 years ago. What's it going to take to get a day of your coaching? I said, look, Henry, my price is $5,500, but for you, I'll do it for $25. He said, I'll take it. And the next week, those guys went out and sold $189,000 worth of product. I should have gotten it $5,500. I should have gotten a percentage on what they sold. I should have done a lot different than $5,500 down to $25, but I didn't know any better. So let's just assume the first thing you do is you say, you're in the discussion of the price and you say, well, we got you coming in at 10K, okay? Now, let's say that you're at 10 and they go, I think that's a little bit out of our budget, okay? So now they come back with a simple price counter. That's all that is. I think it's a little bit out of our budget, all right? So let's say they come in, you're at 10,000 and you go, man, this is a good price at 10K. Now you decide, no, you know what? First step, I'm going to justify my price. Okay, so I'm going to take you all the way back. This is about 7 years ago in this house that I'm living in right now. We had a situation in our house because of the fact that we had a poorly built roof, basically. It was a roof that was built on top of another roof. So we had a rat infestation in our house, for crying out loud. There were rats running up and down in the ceiling rafters. And I don't know if you've ever had that in your house, but it's annoying when you're hear them running above you when you're sleeping. Okay. So I said, enough is enough, man. I called 3 pest control companies. The one guy showed up, came around, did an estimate. It was about $600. The next guys came around, did an estimate. It was about $600. Third guy came around, did an estimate. It was about $1,800. Now, the third guys I really liked, very professional. Clearly, they knew what they were doing. They had a guarantee attached to their service and their work. The only thing was 2 dudes at 600 and one guy at 1,800. I'm like, that's a lot more, you know? So I'm standing right at my front door, like right over there. And I'm talking to this guy. And I said, look, I want to work with you guys. I know you want to work with us, but we need to talk a little bit about the price, dude. I'm going to tell you full transparency. I said, these 2 deals, these other guys brought out were $600 and $600. Yours is at 18. Now, I believe that you will do a better job. So you don't have to tell me that you're better. I believe that you're better. My question for you is, what can we do here on the price? Okay. Now, just to remind you, I teach all this stuff, right? Dude, standing at my doorstep, and I'm like, I'm going to get him down at least $500, you know, and this whole thing. He looks at me. I kid you not. This guy's like 23 years old, works for a pest control company. This guy looks at me and goes, Mr. Rush, there's a reason why those other guys are at $600, and there's a reason why you and I are having this conversation. We're the best at what we do, and we charge premium prices because we are the best at what we do. If you want it done right, you work with us. If you want it the job done shoddy, you work with them. It's up to you, but if you want to work with us, that's the price, because we're the best at what we do. And I'm like, he got done with that sentence. And I go, all right, dude, exactly what I said. I go, listen, I teach this stuff. You're hired. Okay. Right there, $1,800. So the first step is to say, look, Neil, you and I are talking about a problem that you want to solve. And you know as well as I do that you can't be cheap on your way to success. And you've tried doing this before the inexpensive way, and you've tried doing it before the cheap way. And now you've got an opportunity to do this right and to finally invest the money in your business that you know you're going to be able to get out. Now, I got you down to 10K, which I think is a really, really good deal. And I think it's a great step for you to move in the right direction. You're just going to have to decide whether it's worth it to you or not, but I already know that it is. Boom. Say that. Don't say anything else. Okay. So the first thing you can do, you don't have to drop your price. The first thing you can do is simply stop and justify your price. Now, I want to go back into that for just a second and just tell you, there's one important thing I didn't say. You'll notice I didn't say, this is the lowest we can go. I didn't say, this is my final offer. I didn't say, it's 10K or it. Okay. I'm never, ever, ever going to close the door on myself like that, because you might come back. He might have some sort of payment option. There may be some other thing that they come up with a little bit. Like if he says, look, I have a $9,500 check sitting right here, but I committed to my business partners not to go over, and I'm going to probably take the $9,500 check. Okay. So you'll notice when I justified my price, I didn't say this is my final offer. I didn't say this is it. I didn't say any of that stuff. I simply justified my price. Okay. So option number 1 on a price discussion is to take one moment, just a step, to simply justify your price. Now, whether you're going to deal on price or not, I do recommend that as a logical first step. Remember, you're having a conversation. As long as you don't go, this is my final price, you can still have that conversation, okay? So I'm gonna say, hey, Neil, listen, we're really good at what we do. And I think you've got a really good deal in front of you. And I know that you want to do this, and I know we want to work with you. So let's find a way to make this work within this range right here. How can we make this work for you, right? That's the kind of conversation that I want to have. Okay, so option number 1 on a price, essentially what's called a price counter, is to simply justify your price. All right, boom. Jump into chat real quick. I got like a whole bunch of people that just jumped in. Yeah, Marcus says, the alter ego of yourself who negotiates your price down. It is true, because you're like 10, 9, 8. I've seen people do this all the time. They just start dropping themselves down. Question from Denise, which I'll cover at the end because it's off the topic, but I will cover that. How often do people say they are the sole decision maker, but then they need to check with someone else? Also curious. Oh, I think I did cover that breakdown of women, men and women. Jim Butt says, whoever speaks first. Yeah, you got that right, man. Amen. Amen. Hey, what's up, Walt? Played Walt a year ago in Scotland. Played golf in Scotland with Walt a year ago. Gary Rush says, so funny. We have a new house and we found out we have to replace our roof, but we don't have any rats. Yeah, well, we ended up replacing the roof. Yeah, that's true. What's up, Zach, my man? Zach and I are going to do an interview, hopefully this week. Oh, Barry, I did say that, didn't I? So I used to just tell people, make the price and then add the words a month and see if they take it. All right, so if you just joined us, I'm going to do Q&A, by the way, in about 10 minutes, so hang with me, okay? If you just joined us, this is how to get paid what you're worth, part 3. Part 1 was on mindset. Part 2 was on skill set. Part 3, action set. This is the last part. We're just talking about how to counter price objections. Okay, so you got to 10K, and your person said, yeah, the price, we need to work on the price. So now let's talk about dropping the price. Okay, so you remember this from last week, so I'm not going to take as much time doing this one as I did. The only rule, if you are going to drop the price, the only rule is you have to get the yes before the yes, okay? Just get the yes before the yes. Here's how a yes before the yes works. It's a series of a question and answer, and then another question and another answer. Let me explain how this works, okay? So the yes before the yes goes like this. All right, Dennis, you said the price might be a little bit high. So right now I got you in at 10K, which is a really good deal. But let's just talk about this a little bit. Could you maybe give me a range, just a ballpark range of an area that you might be comfortable with, and maybe a number that you may still be a little bit of a stretch, but that you can do, that we can move forward on this deal together. What is it? 8? Okay, so just to go back on what I just said, the first thing, I'm not going to ask for a hard number. I'm going to say, could you give me a range or a ballpark? All right, and then at the end, I'm going to throw something out. That way he doesn't go, 4,000. But again, I'm going to give it a range. Okay, so maybe he'll say 8 to 9. If he says 8 to 9, we're at 9. Okay, so let's say you said, could you give me a ballpark, maybe a range 8? If he says, yeah, I think we could probably do 8. All right, so you just took this 10K down to 8K. So in this particular situation, 2 choices you have. You could take it at 8, or you could bump it up just a little bit. All right, so let's just take it at 8. So now the yes before the yes works like this. All right, Dennis. What I just did there is actually pretty important. That little pause and breathe. You're going to move slowly on this part here, okay? So let me ask you a question. Assuming I could get you to 8, I'm assuming you'd be ready to move forward on this deal today. That's it. Just wait there. Just wait there, okay? Now, the truth is, if he said the number and you said that sentence back to him, he has to say yes, right? Because if he goes 8, if you go 8 and he goes, yeah, I think we might be able to get in there. And I say, I'm assuming that if I can get you down to 8, you'd be ready to move forward on this deal today. This has to be a yes, okay? So you get this yes, and when you get this yes, you have a deal. It's done, right? It's done. Now, you do have a decision as to what to do at this price. You could stay there and run with it, take the deal, or you could go, that's going to be hard to do. Let me ask you this. What if we got you to 9? I mean, that's $1,000 off of our original deal. That's splitting the difference between those two. Would you consider moving forward at 9? Okay, did you see what I just did there? All I did was move it back up just a little bit. So when he says 8, I could say yes, or I could go, would you consider? Right? Again, the language that I'm using is not like final offer. This is my, no. We're just kind of loosely having a conversation. Would you consider going to 9? And he might go, I don't know if we're going to be able to get there. And you'd go, so what number between 8 and 9 would work for you? Just throw another one out there. Okay. So this is the drop technique. Okay. All right. And this technique right here works because of this little yes before the yes that sits right in here. Okay. So that's number 2. All right. Last one, and then I'll take your questions. If you just joined us, by the way, my name is Ed Rush. This is How to Get Paid What You're Worth. We're talking about how to counter price objections, and we're in this very last little segment of this series that we're on right now. Tomorrow, by the way, my friend Todd Durkin's coming in to talk about mindset. You're not going to want to miss that. All right. So option number 3 is to create an A or B option. All right. So option number 3 starts the same way that I said in that option number 2 started, which is, okay, that's really good. Listen, I want to work with you. You want to work with me. So let's just talk about this. Give me a ballpark. I don't know, like a range of a number that might work for you. 8. Okay. And he says, yeah, I think 8 could probably work for us. Okay. So now here's what I'm going to do. Let's say the package that I just described up here has 5 parts to it. I create a book and a title and a subtitle and a book cover. I help them write their book. I get them to #1 bestseller. I load up their stuff into Amazon, create a book for them on paperback. And all of this is $10K. Some of you do this kind of work right here. Okay. So this is all the package that I had pitched them up at $10K. And then all of a sudden he's like, gosh, it's probably closer to 8. So here's what I'll do. I'll go, okay, let me just do this with you. Let's assume, so I know I can't do the whole thing, Dennis, at 10K, but let me do this. Why don't I create a second package for you? We'll get the book done. We'll get the cover, title, subtitle. We'll get it loaded to Amazon, and we'll get it done on paperback. The only thing you're going to miss is becoming a #1 bestseller, okay? So let's do this. Package A comes in. This is the original package. Hang on, I'm dropping my pens. This is me discussing this still. Package A was already at 10K, right? Package B, you said 8K was something that you could do. So let's do the second package at 8. That way you have an option of these two. But here's what I'll do for you. See this 10K right here? What I would be willing to do, assuming you want to move forward on the big package, which is the one you want anyway, is I'd be willing to split it up. So here's what you pay me now. You pay 5K now. You pay 5K 30 days from now because, and this language is very important, what I'm about to do here, because Dennis, you said to me that you could do 8K. So if you do 8K, you can certainly do 5, and that allows you to spread the payments so that you can do 5K next month, which is a number that you said you could do. So I'll give you 2 options. Option number 1, you could go with the 8K, which you said you could do. You're just missing out on this one thing, or we can add this one thing in, and I'll give you a payment plan that splits it out so that it's a really good deal for you. All right, which one of these 2 do you want to move forward with today? That's the last question. Which one of these 2 do you want to move forward with today? Now, this is an option that I call the I would be stupid if I didn't option, because the person you're talking to would be stupid if they didn't do this one, because it's so much of a better deal than that one. Did you catch that? Okay, so price. Just a little quick review, and then I'm going to jump onto the other camera and do some questions. Review on price. So first of all, 3 options. There's more than 3, but these are the ones that we covered today. Justify your price, step 1. Drop the price, but get a yes before the yes, or split up an A and B option and go with the payments. Okay. And it's, again, the assumption is you're doing coach consulting. You're selling some sort of a product. Like I know some of our Marquetta's friends are here. Some of you sell like these high-end lace wigs. This would be something you could use when somebody discusses price with you. Okay, so let me jump over here and have a seat and answer your questions. All right, cool. So if you just joined us, by the way, this is How to Get Paid What You're Worth, Part 3. My name is Ed Rush, former F-18 fighter pilot, your host for the most positive place on the planet for insanely implementable ideas. I want to jump through some of the questions. So Marnie just asked, how does this work if somebody totally lowballs on price? I'll get to that. That's good. Denise asked a speaker question. Well, I will get to Marcus asked a question about refunds or guarantees. So Marcus, let me do your question first, and then I'll get to this last question of Marnie's. And then we probably have time after that for maybe one more question. So if you have any questions on what I just covered today, jump in and we can do that. Big week planned for you, by the way. This week, tomorrow is Get Your Mind Right with Todd Durkin. And then Thursday, I haven't told you this. Thursday, one of my clients is coming on named Chris Casamassa. Chris is one of the foremost leaders in the martial arts world and has some of the best referral getting and testimonial getting and online marketing strategies for local businesses. This stuff is great, okay? And you're going to want to be here on Thursday for that as well. Okay, so Marcus's question says, how do you deal with objections when selling a high ticket program that has no refund or a guarantee? Okay, so for example, Marcus, my products have a guarantee attached to them. My event usually has some sort of a guarantee attached to it. But when I do $25,000 advising work, I don't have a refund policy. I do have a refund policy, which it gives them a short period of time to refund. And like if somebody signs up and then doesn't want to join the program, well, if they haven't done anything, they can get a refund. But if somebody signs up, does a coaching day with me, does 6 months of coaching, and then comes back, that's not refundable. So the way that I work, Marcus, on high-end programs is usually they're agreement-based programs, and oftentimes they're retainer-based programs. And I have an actual agreement that people sign for that. The second thing is if somebody asks me, do you have a guarantee for this program? This is what I tell them straight up. I say, look, here are the things, here's the reason why there's no guarantee in this program. Because the success of this program hinges 100% on two things. Number one, me giving you the advice that you need in your business. And number two, your implementation of that advice. Now listen, I know with 100% certainty that the information and the strategy that I'm going to be giving you will work in your business. In fact, when I look you in the eye and say, do this, this will work, I'm staking my professional reputation on the fact that it will work. And I have 0 examples in the world of over 400 clients that I've worked with where it didn't. The only thing that I can't control is your implementation. See, your success comes down to you implementing those strategies. And I've had some clients that implemented fast and saw great results. And I had some clients, frankly, that didn't do much with what they learned. And so therefore, I'm able to guarantee simply this. If you don't do anything with this, it will not work, okay? Because together, we're in a partnership really together, working together on your business, and it's both of us working together. And that's the reason why there's not a guarantee. So I always put the guarantee discussion on their implementation because fundamentally coaching, consulting, advising has to do with their implementation. Now, if anyone ever comes back, which they don't, you could always show them the things that were promised to them and that you delivered those because of course you always will have, okay? So that's the question, how to deal with objections when selling high ticket because there truly isn't, all right? So one more question here. Yeah, Chris is awesome. So how does this work if the person totally lowballs on the price? All right, so Marnie, first of all, if you've done the lead up properly to this particular discussion, that should not be a problem. So for example, when you come to my event, you will hear me do a discussion about a phrase that I use. I've used it today, by the way, that goes like this. I stopped working with people who are trying to be cheap on their way to success, okay? And so I like framing that up in the beginning, framing up the fact that, look, I'm expensive. I say these words. I say these exact words before we get started. I say, I'm expensive, I'm very expensive, and you probably can't afford me. Now I want to pause for a second. Why would I use language like, I'm very expensive and you probably can't afford me? See, most people in the sales environment, they come in like this. Hey, we're going to work out a deal that you're going to love. That they start by explaining how the price is going to be great. Okay, I typically start by explaining how the price is probably not going to be great because fundamentally, people don't want to work with somebody whose price is great. Somebody wants to work with somebody who's going to get a result. Fundamentally, that's what they want to do. And so I often start by saying, just so you know, I'm very expensive and you probably can't afford me. Because at this point, you will see people do one of maybe 3 things. A group of people will go, you know what, Ed, I really don't have any budget at all. And that's fine. That's fine. It's better for us not to have the long conversation about a deal if they don't have any budget, okay? I'll have people who will be like, okay, wow, all right. And now you can start to see them thinking about the price. And I'll have people who go like this, Ed, I know you're expensive. We wouldn't be having this conversation if you weren't expensive, but I'm excited to work with you. And I'm like, that person knows the deal, okay? So the first thing is I try to get rid of a lot of those objections ahead of time. Now, let's say I'm at $10,000 for this deal that I just said, and someone comes in and goes, no, all we have is 1,000. I'm going to literally stop and just go, John, like this is a serious conversation about a real book. And I'm not interested in working with people who are being cheap on their way to success, and neither are you. I mean, look, you've gotten for your whole life what you paid for, and you haven't gotten the results in your business that you want. And part of the reason is what's happening on our conversation right now. And honestly, I thought you were serious about getting your book done. I didn't think that you were $1,000 or $2,000 serious. Pause after saying that and let them respond, okay? And they might say, times have been tough, I don't have any money, or they might go, you know what, you're right, I'm sorry about that. That was a little ridiculous. Let's get back to the and then you get back to the conversation, okay? So the sales conversation, and by the way, if you don't have, where's my persuasion course? It's in here someplace. Oh boy. I had a link to it, but no, I don't. Just go to edrush.com/products. There's a course in, did I see it? Is it called The Secret Weapon? Oh, well, it was in there someplace. A lot of the communication and persuasion strategies that I teach, Marnie, have to do with what Robert Cialdini calls persuasion. I call it owning the ground. It's setting up the discussion later on. So when I tell people, hey, look, I stopped working with people who are cheap, trying to be cheap on the way to, like in the beginning of the conversation, I'll say something like, hey, I stopped working with people who are trying to be cheap on the way to success. So I'm assuming if we're going to have this conversation, you've got a budget that you're willing to invest to work on this. And you're assuming coming in that I've got the time to invest in you. Are we good there? Right? I'll ask that question right in the beginning. You've got a budget and I want to see. And sometimes people are like, yeah, we've got a budget. We want to work with you. We made the commitment to doing this. And I have other people who are like, I don't know. We don't really have much money. And then I'm not going to have why would we even have the conversation if you're not? Okay. So good stuff right there. Thank you for that question. Boom. She's just get on with the 21-day miracle. Good. You're in good shape. You're in good hands. Okay. By the way, when you're done with that, you email me support@edrush.com and I'll give you a deal for all the rest of the products. All right. Oh yeah. Here's the product. Secret Weapon, edrush.com/secret weapon. And the code is secret. And if I remember correctly, that takes $600 off or something. It makes it $997, which is a good deal. Aaron says, love that. I'm really expensive and you probably can't afford me. Those are good, really good 2 lines, by the way. I've used those all the time. You'll hear me use them from the stage quite a bit. I'm very expensive and you probably can't afford me. And by the way, the subtle persuasion inside there is a certain percentage of people, Aaron, who will go like this. Oh, I can't afford you. Oh, I can't afford you. Oh, you watch how I afford you. And if they react like that, I'm happy too. Okay. So, how much of the coaching details written or embodied into the agreement? All right. So first thing is I don't give legal advice, nor do I play a lawyer. So none of what I'm about to tell you is legal advice. Barry, when I do my coaching, my current advisor agreement, it's 4 pages. It's the most plain language agreement you will ever read. And if you email me, I'll send it to you. It literally is not legalese at all. It's very, very, very plain language, but it discusses my expectations for my client and their expectations for me, because that needs to be very clear. So anytime you're doing a deal, it's 2 things, expectations and money. Now, I am not of the I'm not of the mindset that every agreement needs to be a written agreement. I will have attorneys that will disagree with that. And again, consult with your attorney because they're probably right, okay? Quite a few of my coaching or consulting deals happen over email, and then I encapsulate everything into one email that they agree to, and that serves as our agreement. One way or another, I do think you need something written down that encapsulates expectations, okay, and money. The last thing I want, and I tell my clients this ahead of time, I go, look, we're gonna have a conversation about what I can help you with, and we're gonna have a conversation about the investment. As we do this, it's important for all of your expectations for me to be very clear to me. I tell them the same thing. I go, I can always hit a target I can see. But what I don't want is a year from now, you coming back and going, well, I thought that listen, if it's not written down, there's no I thought that I want to write everything down so that I can capture the spirit of our agreement together so that we can move forward and have a great result for you and for your business, okay? So that's good stuff. All right. That's why you need to come to the event, man. He says, Ed's language patterns are gold. Does the secret weapon have more of these language patterns? Yep, secret weapon is good. Oh, you finished it. Awesome, man. Congratulations. Good job, Diana, as well. There was one other question Denise asked, and then I'm going to wrap it up. She said, it was an event question. She said, do you think conferences will become virtual and will speakers have to drop their price due to resulting Zoom webinar connections? So here's the thing about that. Right now, I think it's too early to tell. I will tell you that based on what I'm seeing in the world right now. Okay, I want to say this. I want to be respectful of everybody's viewpoint regarding COVID-19. There's some people watching right now who are like, this is the biggest hoax ever played on our country. And there's other people watching right now who are still quite scared. And I want to respect both of those viewpoints. To be clear, I don't want to, let me just put it this way. There's a large portion. Our golf course in San Diego opened right down the hill from me. And in the day it opened, it was full of people riding carts together, no mask, no gloves or anything except for their golf club, okay? There's a lot of people right now who are like, we're gonna go back to work now. Let's get on with business and life. And so Denise, right now I'm planning, just full disclosure, you'll hear more about this when we get together, when we get the group together, which the ultimate speaker training this week is probably gonna be on Thursday. I've got some things to get ready for you that I need to do. But full, I'm going to tell you the whole thing. Right now, I'm looking actually at doing Ultimate Speaker both digitally and live, okay? So I'm actually looking at doing both of those things. And the reason why is I know people right now who are like, let's do an event. And I'm on board with that. Like, I would love to be able to do that. My event space right now, we are arranging it so that everybody has their own little table, which is actually, that's kind of cool anyway. Even in a real event, okay? So, but the truth is, if you're gonna come to an event, you know, you're probably not like a need your own little table person. But anyway, I digress. So I think it's too early to tell because I'm starting to see the pendulum swing back fairly quickly. Like when the salon started opening in Dallas, everybody started to like, yeah, you know what? So anyway, California, like we're really slow. Hawaii's really slow at doing this. But the whole world is moving back. So I think, Denise, we'll have a better idea come September. And then for sure, a better idea later in the fall when we start seeing like the big events like South by Southwest and some of the big conferences, if we start seeing them schedule those big conferences again, I think it'll be back to normal. If not, now is a great time as a communicator and a speaker to begin to transition to a different model other than speak and get paid. So you remember inside of Ultimate Speaker, I teach 4 ways. The speak and get paid model, which is a keynote fee, products, coaching, and books. And these 2 right in the middle, I think are going to be so much more lucrative than they ever were. Listen, I've sold more products in the last 2 months than I have in the last 2 years combined, okay? Online sales, not offline sales. So I'm just telling you that there's more of a desire for this kind of training right now, especially in the world that we're at. So just a little pivot in your business would probably help. And the great news is we're going to talk about that at Ultimate Speaker. All right. So boom. There you go. Hopefully that answered that question. All right. Last couple of things in chat. David Stoll, who did their live stream, by the way, they sent it to me. It was a couple weeks ago and it was awesome. So it was way better than my first live stream. I will just tell you that. Thank you, Mike Toy, for the discussion of that as well. Okay, so we're gonna wrap it up today. Tomorrow, hang on. Tomorrow's show, Todd Durkin's coming in to get your mind right. I've got something in the works for Wednesday. I just can't announce it just yet. Thursday, Chris Casamas is talking about some local marketing, testimonial gathering, how to get referrals. One of the smartest and fastest business owners I know. In the meantime, just smile because the world's going to get worse and then we're going to be in charge, or the world's going to get better and then we're going to be in charge. Either way, we're going to be in charge. So get faster and stronger. And this is a great week for it, by the way. This is a great week for it because you are going to change the world. All right, we're going to wrap up the show. This is EdTalks Live. I will talk to you tomorrow.